The state assembly begins public hearings on its sexual harassment policies, a day after misconduct allegations cause a member to resign.
Their wastes are going somewhere, and it's not going into a toilet, it's going into the river.
A critical San Diego ecosystem is threatened as San Diego's homeless crisis continues.
This is an institution that's been created through taxpayer resources, through volunteer hours, people donating their time, and now all of a sudden you're handing it over to a private company to make a profit off of it.
Librarians in North County are fighting back after Escondido decides to outsource library services. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. The San Diego River is more crowded since the city began moving homeless people off the downtown streets. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson says the extra people are putting additional pressure on an already stressed ecosystem.
Volunteer Paul Barreno's yellow shirt makes him easy to see.
Paul, watch out, there's a needle right there.
He's part of a crew of volunteers cleaning up a stretch of San Diego riverbed.
We were here, I'm guessing, we were here about 2 months ago, maybe less. And it was, we got it pretty clean, but yeah, we hit the same amount of places pretty much regularly.
And they find lots of stuff, clothes, food wrappers, and at this campsite, long strips of yellow plastic tubing that's supposed to be a temporary sandbag. Barreno used to be surprised.
Oh, I think just the amount of trash that you can find all in one place, but that seems to happen pretty often.
The trees and overgrown plants hide the people, campsites, and trash. The volunteers look for, find, and remove all the items that shouldn't be here.
Yeah, you and John can start on that site back there. And then also up on the hillside there's some stuff over there. Okay, thanks, Paul.
Tiffany Swiderski leads this San Diego River Park Foundation cleanup crew. She's walked through this tangle of brush, trees, and overgrown paths many times, and she talks to the people who seek shelter here.
It's easy to just, go to a bad place, with all these negative emotions. But when you meet people and you talk to them about their situation, it helps to, humanize things.
Swiderski says some of the clandestine campsites are hidden deep inside the brush. Others are just a step away from a busy street. Close to all the camps are makeshift bathrooms. This one is near a tree.
You can see here that this is all used toilet paper. You can see human feces. There's some right here, not even, with the protection of the log right there. But yeah, there are multiple sites like this around this property alone where each encampment kind of has its own bathroom area that the people that had been living here kind of designated that as their restroom.
It's dry here now, but when winter rains come, the river's sandy bed will fill up. In some spots, paths that are dry now will be under 10 feet of water, and that water will carry everything downstream.
People camping on streets, in storm drains, literally living in Forester Creek underground in the storm drain. Their wastes are going somewhere, and it's not going into a toilet, it's going into the river.
Dave Gibson is in charge of the state agency that monitors the region's water quality. He says local cities and the county share responsibility for making sure the water quality along the river meets federal standards.
This is a human problem, and humans can solve this problem.
The San Diego County Department of Environmental Health does regularly test water quality at the mouth of the river near Ocean Beach, but testing upriver is much less frequent.
San Diego County officials did not want to answer questions about water testing in the San Diego River on camera, but they did answer some questions by email.
The county concedes there's only limited testing in the watershed, and the email reply said, quote, "It appears that all coastal watersheds experience inputs of human waste, so this issue is not unique to the San Diego River," unquote. Cities are required to track stormwater drains to check for possible sewage pipe leaks, and the county and other communities have done testing for specific studies. But the river is ephemeral. Sometimes there's no water to test, or the water that does exist is in stranded, stagnant pools. The Water Quality Board's Dave Gibson says the situation becomes more complicated when a lot of people are living in the overgrown riverbank.
Because there's simply not adequate access to sanitation. And the kinds of sanitation issues that existed on the streets, which led to hepatitis A outbreaks, exist in triplicate in the river bottom itself. What's more is they now provide a vehicle for those wastes to end up downstream on beaches and on properties where they otherwise wouldn't have been.
Gibson says the water agency is considering issuing cleanup and abatement orders for locations where they know homeless camps exist. The county has already announced plans to do more extensive testing along the river, but the water agency says waiting 3 to 5 years for useful data doesn't make sense. Gibson is considering issuing an executive investigative order for the watershed that will push for answers sooner. Gibson says public health hangs in the balance. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
A struggle for control of library services in Escondido may end up in court. One group is fighting city plans to outsource those services. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman shows us both sides of the debate.
We're going to march over to City Hall. We're going to serve the city clerk, and we're going to start this lawsuit.
LS&S has got to go. Hey, hey.
The lawsuit is claiming that under the California Education Code, public libraries shall be managed by a library board, and that the Escondido City Council took that authority away when it signed a 10-year agreement to outsource library services.
One of the motivating factors for me is to fight the privatization of our governmental resources. And this is a prime example of the overreach.
The city of Escondido says the outsourcing to public system services will save at least $400,000 a year.
This is the first, I call it, invasion of LSS into San Diego County.
John Donnell is a current librarian with the Escondido Library. Part of its contract, LSS is offering city employees their jobs back, but John plans to resign on Friday.
I've gone over to the Coronado Public Library, and I'll be working there as a regular full-time librarian.
He believes libraries should be run locally.
They're making a profit off of a public institution. Basically, this is an institution that's been created through taxpayer resources, through volunteer hours, people donating their time, and now all of a sudden you're handing it over to a private company to make a profit off of it.
Today, the group served the city of Escondido.
I serve you these papers in the name of the children of Escondido.
In a statement, the city attorney said that the library board will play an integral role in the oversight of the library and be more involved in decision-making. They also plan to aggressively defend the action. Many of the library's 44 employees are in the California Public Employees Retirement System, which the city argues is getting too expensive for Escondido.
If we are sued and we lose, then the funding of the library will not be there if the pension obligation will be demanded by the state. The state is going to demand us from 20, 25, 30, 35, 37, 38 million the next 4 years. It's just crazy.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
It was standing room only at a hearing in Sacramento today as hundreds of women filled a room hoping to testify about their experiences with sexual harassment, extortion, and retaliation at the state capitol. The state assembly kicked off a series of special hearings on the issue today. Assembly member Laura Friedman says it's time to make some big accountability changes at the capitol.
All of us as a body and as legislators need to hold each other accountable. And we all need to take responsibility. Now, that's not to say that we should act on every rumor, because this place is a rumor mill. And it can be a little bit like junior high. So you have to be careful. But if I had firsthand knowledge of something, I think that it's my responsibility to act on it, especially if what I heard about was a crime.
Assembly officials report they have conducted 8 investigations of sexual harassment allegations over the past 6 years. The Pentagon says a 20-year-old soldier from Riverside has died in Iraq. Officials say that Corporal Todd McGurn died over the weekend of a non-combat related incident in Baghdad. The incident is under investigation, but no further details have been provided. A GoFundMe page is set up to help McGurn's family says he was just shy of his 21st birthday. Less than 1 in 3 high school freshmen are likely to earn a college bachelor's degree. That's a key finding from a 7-year study by the Public Policy Institute of California. The report found a major issue is the lack of college prep courses. But even if students are qualified, they find there's just not enough space in the CSU system, making admission even more competitive.
Because CSU does not have enough capacity to take all of the students, and what we've seen is, in the past 4 years, CSU has actually turned away as up to 69,000 eligible students each year.
The report also questions graduation standards that don't match what is needed for admission to CSU and UC schools. We've heard of coffee shops, but what about coffee labs? Cafe Virtuoso and Barrio Logan is breaking ground on one tonight. KPBS education reporter Megan Burke says the space aims to help homeless and formerly incarcerated people find jobs in San Diego's coffee industry.
The San Diego Coffee Training Institute opened last fall and is expanding inside Cafe Virtuoso so it can offer more training spots to homeless and other vulnerable individuals.
I go to work every single day. I drive in and out of downtown and I see these things. The homelessness, the people in the tents, the kids on the streets. And I think I don't necessarily know that I can help these exact people because you have to want to be helped. But I had a space that became available at my work.
Trainees will get certified by the world's largest coffee trade association, and the Institute is partnering with nonprofits that specialize in job readiness training to ensure their success.
They have a hard skill like learning how to be a barista and say they're really great at that, but they don't have any interpersonal skills and they can't show up for work on time and do things that are maybe to you and me very basic, but they just can't do those other things. They're not going to keep the job anyway. So it's important for us to work with organizations that take that very seriously.
Baristas usually start out at minimum wage, but can make higher wages if they move into management or other aspects of the industry. The Institute plans to add coffee roasting to the curriculum next year. Megan Burks, KPBS News.
Some doctors are using a new technique for easing one of the possible side effects of breast cancer treatment. Associated Press reporter Krista Fourier says lymphedema is a debilitating condition that has no cure.
After her breast cancer treatment, Susan Wolf-Tank was in serious pain. Not in her chest, but her arm. It was so painfully swollen she could barely move it.
I had a hard time lifting things. The mobility in this arm was restricted. It made things, normal, everyday tasks, very difficult.
Known as lymphedema, it's a type of chronic swelling, commonly in the arms or legs, that can be hereditary or result from injury. But it can also be a lasting side effect of treatment for a variety of cancers. Now, a growing number of hospitals are looking at surgical options for lymphedema, including a procedure known as lymph node transfer.
I woke up and my arm was so much lighter, and the aching and the heaviness was gone.
Dr. David Song of MedStar Georgetown University Hospital in Washington removed healthy lymph nodes from Wolf-Tank's back and side. He implanted them around her left arm, where some lymph nodes were removed as part of her cancer treatment.
There's never been a real big solution for it. There's management strategies and there's therapy, and that's really been about it up until now.
As the new ones took root, Wolf-Tank's arm began shrinking. Lymph nodes work like tiny biological pumps that are part of the immune system. They help bring oxygen and nutrients to cells and take away bacteria and waste material.
You're restoring these little pumps, which can then grow new lymphatic channels and then help to restore the flow of lymph and decrease the swelling of an arm.
Researchers say lymph node transfer is a promising technique, but it has only been examined in small studies. Doctors say lymphedema patients should get a comprehensive exam to determine the best option.
As Dr. Song said, this isn't a cure. It won't eliminate it altogether, but the quality of my life has improved because of it.
Wolf-Tank hopes she can enjoy her hobby of painting again as her arm heals. Krista Fourier, Associated Press.
Early childhood is the most rapid and dynamic period of brain development. In tonight's SciTech Report, producer Frank Graff introduces us to researchers studying factors behind a healthy brain and what may be early indicators of autism.
You're looking at 3D images of children at 6 months, 12 months, and 24 months. The changes are dramatic. That's because early childhood is the most rapid and dynamic period of brain development. There is so much being learned in a short period of time. But it turns out that brain growth is not uniform.
Obviously, when the brain grows from a small brain to a large brain, it's not a proportional growth for all parts of the brains. Different part of the brain has different trajectories. Some of the region grows faster, some region grows slower.
The fastest developing areas of the brain coincide with skills the child is learning at that time, such as fine motor skills, walking, speech. The area grows because neural connections are being made.
And this is the baby's eye, and this is the brain inside the skull. And basically what you can see is the cortical rim here is the gray matter of the brain, and that's where all the neurons are. So that's where kind of the work of thinking and sensing things and all of that happens. And then this lighter place here is actually what we call the white matter, and that's the connections between the neurons. So a neuron that's talk here that wants to talk to a neuron here has to communicate through a long track that goes through the brain.
You know it, clap your hands. Those discoveries stem from the Baby Connectome Project. It's a 4-year study at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill School of Medicine. The project aims to produce unprecedented information about early brain development from birth through early childhood, as well as the factors contributing to a healthy brain.
So this screen actually, from the same subject, same case.
Okay.
And they have the image acquired at 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months.
For the project, researchers are performing safe and non-invasive brain scans of 500 children aged 0 to 5 years.
It looks like in the first year of life that the sensory motor regions of the brain, the motor cortex or the visual cortex that we process visual information, is more developed at birth. It's already kind of coming online. And then in the first year or two of life, the higher order places of the brain that do thinking and higher order integration of information, they develop very rapidly in the first year or two of life.
And what are those on that? So where's the part that's already doing?
Well, the motor cortex is roughly in here, and the visual cortex is in the back here, and then some of the higher integrative functions are the frontal cortex here and the parietal cortex right in here.
You would be surprised how much of the brain grows in the first year of life. I mean, it grows almost 90% to almost 90% of the adult brain size within 1 year. So our goal is to use a non-invasive imaging approach to really understand and characterize and quantify the changes associated with structures, functions, and some of microstructural changes. And so coupled with that, then we can learn about, well, so if a subject starts to walk, which part of the brain actually responsible for all these behavioral changes? Or if a toddler starts to be able to become more attached to the parents, for example, which part of the brain is actually responsible for attachment?
Scientists also hope that by identifying the factors that contribute to healthy brain development, they can also learn how to predict whether infants at high risk will develop autism.
There's very good reason to think that we can eventually identify brain biomarkers that could predict who's going to get autism. That opens up the door to intervention in the first year. Of course, we don't know what interventions to use, but we have some ideas. It's a time when the brain is much more amenable to change, much more plastic. It's a time before the onset of symptoms, so we don't have those difficulties to deal with. And there's, I think, a lot of excitement about the potential promise of that.
Scientists are using brain scans to study infants at higher risk for developing autism because they had an older sibling with the disease.
When we put a child that's going to end up with autism at 2 or 3 next to a child that is not going to end up with autism at 6 months, we can't really distinguish them as far as the features of autism. It's not till the second year, or the late in the first year, or the second year, that autism kind of unfolds or emerges. Our group has begun to study the brain changes that go from not having autism to having autism. And so one of the most exciting areas is that we believe we're beginning to have the evidence that we can predict in the first year of life based on brain biomarkers in what we call high familial risk kids, so kids that have an older sibling with autism that are already at an increased risk, but that we can predict who's going to develop autism. The imaging really is just kind of a tool, an essential tool to move us forward to coming up with prediction and targeted treatment.
California's ski season is fast approaching. It's a measured formula of natural and artificial snow. Operators at Mountain High, Southern California's closest resort, tell me they're monitoring weather conditions very closely with plans to open next week. This is video taken last season at Mountain High. Chief Marketing Officer John McCauley is banking on an even better ski season this year.
We're excited, and the market's excited too. We've had some, early season trade shows, and attendance has been off the hook, and so has preseason ticket sales. So I think there's a lot of people out there ready for winter. Mountain High is located in the Angeles National Forest, about 2.5 hours northeast of San Diego, where this weekend there's a chance of snow. McCauley says the cooler trailing weather should be ideal for making even more snow. Because we were kind of hoping to, open earlier in the month, but we just didn't have the cold temperatures. Now we do, so we're making tons of snow, and we should be open here within a week. Last year, California saw record snowfall, and snow enthusiasts responded. McCauley says 350,000 people skied, boarded, and tubed down Mountain High's slopes. I think that just kind of shocked the market out of the doldrums we've been in for the last couple of years, just dealing with the drought and everything. And we just kind of reminded folks that, hey, we do get winter in Southern California. And I think we got a lot of people excited for this year. The resort is still benefiting from California's wet winter last year. McCauley says access to 3 times more water translates to a deeper base, better terrain, and hopefully happy guests. My feeling is this season is going to surpass last year by, I don't want to say, I'd say 10 to 20%, on the low side. Could be, easily up to 50% more. Another cloudy, cool day for San Diego today, but Aaron Calandra says changes are on the way in tonight's forecast.
Good evening. Hopefully you had a nice day today. We're going to have a beautiful week weather-wise. Today, mostly sunny. We do have this cloud coverage here that's kind of sneaking up from the south. That means clouds building throughout the evening time and also through tonight. It's going to be a partly cloudy night. Other than that, it's going to stay dry, and that's the case for much of California. Of course, the far north, we are going to see a couple of showers up there, maybe even some snow in higher elevations or a wintry mix. Down here, though, tonight, some clouds will be passing through. 54 degrees for our overnight low. Oceanside, 43 degrees. Poway, 47. Borrego Springs, 46. And Mount Laguna, the cool spot, 39 degrees. Tomorrow, another nice day. It's pretty dry and also sunny across the region. Temperatures right around where they should be. We should be in those upper 60s. So it's a little bit warmer, but a lot closer than it was last week. So San Diego tomorrow, 69. That's spot on for our temperatures. Poway, a little warm at 76. Oceanside, 71. And Ramona, 75 degrees. Mount Laguna, 57 for the high. Now, as the week progresses, it's going to stay dry and sunny, but by Sunday, we're going to see a couple of showers potentially move into the area. So Wednesday, 71, staying in those mid to low 70s through Saturday. And then on Sunday, we do drop down to 70 degrees with a few showers. Inland, same story. It's going to be sunny and warm. By Friday, we're at 81 degrees, but by Sunday, we drop down in temperatures to 73. Not as warm, but we should stay dry. In the mountains, it's going to be cooler by Sunday. So temperatures jump up to the 60s and then down to 53. So that's a significant drop, about 10 degrees. And in the deserts, it's going to be sunny and nice. We reach 81 degrees by Friday, and then a bit cooler on Sunday, down to 75 degrees. For KPBS News, I'm Erin Calandra.
San Diego visitors can take a walk on the wild side this weekend in Alpine. Lions, Tigers, and Bears is opening a new habitat Saturday for its Christmas Festival fundraiser. Today, KPBS video journalist Nick McVicker got a sneak peek.
So today we're at Lions, Tigers, and Bears, and we are going to let Louie, the white lion, out for the first time. He's now got, some rolling hills, rocks, oak trees. He's got, a pond and waterfall and a natural pond, and we'll just have to see where he goes. He might just go out and lay in the grass.
That is just absolutely spectacular.
Louie is at least 12 years old, and he's a retired entertainment animal, which is a lot of travel and, going place to place to do advertisements and circus work. So he's been a working cat, so we like to say they go from rags to riches here at Lions, Tigers, and Bears, and he's retiring here.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.